Hello, and welcome to another tale taken right off the shelves at the heart of the Jakuls. As always, I'm your adaptable host, Lothran, and this story was such a joy to decipher. So let's leap right into it. Go grab a filling meal, settle into a comfortable spot, and pay accurate attention to Fleet Part 1, the only choice remaining. I don't know what you want, but I'm not turning on my family like all the others. All right, it's not happening. Not against my father, nor my sister. Bless Arlo that my mom passed on before she could witness. Cam trailed off as the only working power lift he'd ever seen slowed to a stop. The silent figure in the heavy-powered Nustrudge armor motioned for him to move from the ancient transport with the end of their blaster rifle. It took him a long time to figure out where he was. The shrouding gloom of the cool night summer air, the concealing fog from the hot, moist ground billowing with each of their steps. The first of the impossible, ancient, and decayed, ruined hives almost stabbing into his face as Cam stumbled about through the field. Keep moving. The distorted voice under the heavy helm urged him onward toward whatever fate awaited Cam at their destination. Cam rested against a toppled, unpowered hive, its inner workings spilled onto the moist, fog-covered dirt at his feet. Kind of fitting, really, to be put to the sword, or rather blaster, here, Cam commented to the side of his far too protected foe towering over him. This is where my father, even before that, the first engineers, they began dismantling these ancient relics, building all that we know now, all that the Church of Unending Knowledge seems to have forgotten where and at what cost it came from us. Keep moving. Walk to the fourth strewn field. The gruff voice behind the mask directed, pushing Cam ever onward. The journey over and through the scattered debris of empty, rotten hive shells, slowly decaying over vast and countless epochs. A silent reminder to Cam about the futility of all his own endeavors. Get to work, the figure commanded, jabbing the meaningful end of the blaster into his side, sending him ever so slightly toward a towering pile of hives. Their discarded outer shells, internal pieces of their thread collection engines, and the odd spent Ognox or two. Cam fell into the pile, tripping over random loose parts, coming to his knees and looking back at the soldier of the church, unsure of what he was supposed to do. What do you want from me? Build your flyer, the voice insisted, priming the blaster while aiming it at the ground. Cam looked at the various parts and pieces. He certainly had enough material, but he had no way of testing any of it for safety. Not to mention none of his equipment back at his lab or self-fashioned tools. What's the holdup? The soldier demanded over the short distance that separated them. Well, I didn't see you bringing any of my tools. No time, the soldier replied, looking every bit as menacing in the powered armor as possible. No devices to test for safety. Any of these parts of the hives could blow and take us both in a single touch. I have my orders, you have yours. Get to work. The soldier remained standing where they were. You have until morning. Morning? Blood fucking morning? By Arlo's blimming beard, how do you expect me to finish this by morning? It took me 3 years to build the first one. Not my problem. The church commands, we follow. The Nustrudge-clad warrior repeated the same phrase that all the church soldiers were so very fond of. I can't fucking believe this. Cam replied as he began hefting the various shells to outline the frame of the flyer he'd already built. He swore under his breath after a few minutes. This is what you get for improving on your father's controversial work after his disappearance, no doubt in a very similar manner to this. Cam kept his opinions to himself as he gathered a few other outer fragments of hardened hive shell, protecting their inner bits from exposure to the elements. He didn't have enough to build what he wanted, so he adjusted. Altering the outline, Cam traced the shape of 3 slender, sharp points, one facing forward, the other 2 facing out to either side. But the 2 wings kept angling back even after he connected all of their structure. Fuck it. Too much to do. Cam gave up as he began sorting through the potential thread to power converters that didn't look too rotten on first inspection. He set a few of the best aside to begin selecting which Ognox he'd prefer to constrain. "Halt! Don't touch those!" The soldier shouted in a tense moment. The gun leveled his way as Cam froze with the best low-functioning Ognox in both of his hands. I need it to control the thread generation to multiple functions. So, can I get back to work?" he asked as he hovered in place, wondering if he was about to die or not. "I better not catch you hooking it up to a production transfer vent valve." I had no intention of doing so." Fuck! Cam thought as hard as he dared. There goes that plan of making a primitive gun that may or may not kill him and his guard alike. Trust the church to choose the one Nustraj-capable soldier that knows their way around the guts of a hive for this special task. Cam bent back to the work of it, picking through various incredibly powerful and unstable, decaying internal parts from dozens of discarded hives, until he was sure he had enough to begin earnest work upon. Well, maybe it was just a death trap, but he did have until morning to make something. Not sure why the church wanted him to construct another one after they confiscated and destroyed his last flyer, but to each their own, he supposed. "What are you doing?" the soldier asked in a demanding tone, while Cam connected a microshard to a small thread funnel and grabbed a true core with his other hand. I need them," Cam replied, continuing to work, but slowing down and making sure his guard could see everything that he was doing. "I have everything else I need, but I have to make tools and gather a few more true cores to make sure this vehicle has all the power it will need to actually operate." The soldier seemed to mull it over, but fell silent and went back to watching Cam in a very predatory fashion. You know, this would go a lot faster if you would lend me a hand." The soldier remained silent. "Fine." Cam vented into the cooling night air as he constructed a light to help him see his work by. Luckily, the soldier didn't halt him or find fault with the task, and he was able to maintain his train of thought, fashioning the tools that might build this wreckage into a functioning transport. A clattering, loud but distant, like the impact of a roller into a wall of stone, unmistakable in the empty night air, sounded off as Cam began fusing various bits together. The Nustraj seemed all the more perturbed by the noise in the distance. "Keep working," the soldier ordered, climbing up a nearby hilltop, turning back periodically to check on Cam's progress. He wasn't sure himself. Working with tools that could slice your limbs off or melt your face apart any second was a little nerve-wracking in its own right, but he found a certain pleasure in it, a joy as he welded and fused the shells to one another, setting the various thread converters into the wings and organizing each of the various functions that he needed. He made sure to put a small heater on one wing and an oxygen converter in the other. It could get real rough in a flyer when you got too high up. And if he was going to be killed after making this thing, Cam wanted it to be the absolute greatest invention of all time. "Hurry up!" I thought you said I had more until morning? Heretics are on their way here. You have an hour at most. The Nostraj-clad soldier turned to go back to the hill, getting ready to begin sniping any heretic that came into range. "Fuck me sideways! As if there wasn't enough to worry about," Cam exclaimed as he wiped the curtains of sweat off his brow with his arm. He gave up with his current task of trying to force the two sleek, self-rounding wing edges from pointing as if they were part of a triquetra. Hold on. Cam ran around the vehicle. It was a triquetra. Why in the blimmin' boiling heavens did this craft keep making itself into a backward, wing-swept shape? Cam was sure he'd made the wings longer by far than the cockpit, but they were all the same, equal size. How odd, he commented to himself as he bent back to the work, knowing he wouldn't have enough lift without the proper ratio. Blaster fire rang out from the hilltop as Cam set up what he hoped would be the best solution to his problem. Fully flexible micro-shard thrusters under and fused into each point of the triquetra his ship refused to be anything but, and then two more at the joining base of each point of the triquetra, where they connected to make a sort of cabin interior. He gave a glance up at the hill. The soldier was now taking blast fire back as well as being fired upon. Good luck penetrating that armor. "I wish you vile fucks all the best luck in this endeavor." Cam saluted the heretics and the terrible methods just this once. He set up about installing so much more power generation than he'd ever considered safe or reasonable prior to this moment, as well as imagining up a new control scheme to help make the thrusters manageable without designing an entirely new untested wiring system on the fly, as his worksite was being assaulted by heretics. A soldier joined him in the decently large, if cramped, with both of them and all the spare parts in the interior of the vessel. "How long until this hunk of shit is ready to soar?" The warrior laid down to glance out the rear ramp and take occasional shots at the ascending enemy. "Oh, give me a fucking minute!" Cam shouted back without a single care to his name as he hefted factor tubes to absorb his hands, arms, and legs. His aunt, having been barren, had learned how to use such devices in her medical training, and he'd always enjoyed her company and all the lessons she provided for the intuitive control, if painful, interface the tubes offered to someone willing to endure their particular connectivity. He had to rush to install two beams angling into his lower back so he could properly fly this crazy bomb that he'd built in such an insanely short time. "Get us airborne this instant!" The soldier stowed the blaster rifle, having run out of a charge for it. "Close the ramp and get this shit barge off the ground." Shit barge? Cam knew of only one being in the entire kingdom that used that phrase. But he did close the ramp as the incoming fire began to threaten both of them. "Hold on to your ass, this is gonna be horrendously fast. Or leave us a large enough crater to kill all of the heretics approaching." Cam thrust his hands and then his feet into the factor tubes, feeling the thousands of needles within pierce his flesh and connect with his nerves, the ship becoming a part of his body with a single fateful decision. Kath, it is you!" he shouted back to her, the internal and external sense of the ship fusing to Cam's very understanding in such a way that he and its body would be one as long as he chose to pilot it. How did you... Fuck, even if you didn't, just get us airborne. I can't get out of this helmet too easily. Cam, the church sent an entire battalion to fetch you. This is so screwed up. I just wanted to save you, that's all. Now I am stuck with you. Not until you admit one thing, Kath. Fine, I'm sorry I tried to convince you the church wasn't so bad and to give up your foolish experiments to follow in Dad's footsteps and get yourself killed. We're going to be taking a lot of fire. Get us in the air. No, I don't care about that. The ship isn't a shit barge. It's called the Trike. Say it. Cam flipped on the shields, one of his most recent inventions, as they took heavier but still muted bombardment. All right. It's fucking Trike! Save our lives, you worthless fuckface! Cam initiated the secondary thrusters, feeling the jolting jar as he heard Kath fall to her stomach behind him. Grab whatever you can, big sis. This is gonna be fucking mental. Cam warned as he felt an awareness of the power he'd haphazardly built into Trike's living framework, as long as he was connected to it, of course. He hesitated at the prospect of potentially killing both of them, the last living members of his family, until a warning red hovered in his mind and over his vision from the direction of the assaulting church forces, and then he let the Trike show him what it could do. Cam felt the immense pressure upon his back as the factor tubes connected to his very flesh strained to keep him secured in place. The speed was impossible to comprehend. Oh, my dark, horrible monsters lurking around every crevice and corner. What the fuck? What the fuck have I done? Cam began to shout as the shared space between himself and the Trike showed it, the quickly evaporating ground beneath him. He was aware only through the link of himself and the Trike of Kath struggling to keep air in her lungs, and Cam eased off the sensation of the throttle. You have to see this, Kath. This is amazing. See what? She cried in an exaggerated fashion as she crawled back to her feet, assisted by the powered armor around her body, and still muffling her voice in a very masculine way. Cam flicked the image from his mind towards hers with a tug of one of his fingers, the need to present the thought. But actually all that happened was part of the cabin's displayed the view as if that wall and wing beyond wasn't even there. Oh my, Kath stammered as she witnessed this, as both of them witnessed this for the first time, maybe anyone. By all the light of Arlo's smile, Kath reached out to touch the wall, slowly beginning to take off her helmet so she could see this with her own eyes. Their world, a disc, flat on one side, of artificial rock, showered with the light of a small artificial sun, fading slowly into the massive and incalculably beautiful shimmering gleam, the countless stars, glimmering with incredible magnificence, the likes of which neither of them had ever even imagined, the impact of the sight striking both of them right to the deepest parts of their hearts. And so it is, our time together has come to its end. I hope you enjoyed the tale as much as I did the telling of it. As always, I've been your determined host, Lothran, and this was Fleet, Part 1, the only choice remaining. Another tale right from the heart of the Jakuls. And now, we must once more part ways. Korvoth, lead them along the proper path, back to the safety they know all too well.
Yes, sir, Lothran. A pleasant greeting and a fond farewell to each and all. Please leave all your comments, questions, and kindnesses down below. None of that awful, rude, or mean stuff, though. You keep that to yourself. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to help us learn, spread, and grow. And don't forget that we strongly encourage each and every one of you to do your absolute utmost to stay safe out there. Good night and good luck, everybody. See you again tomorrow for part 2. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you again. Bye-bye.